So many years of catastrophe, more than 6 million refugees. It could be you and your family, forced from your home and your history.
We are the people, and this is our time. Stand up, sing out for Palestine.
Hello, 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 and welcome to Palestine Today. I'm your host, Kathleen Wells, and welcome to Palestine Today, a radio program dedicated to the news about Palestine. My co-host, British journalist and campaign filmmaker Harry Fear, is in Gaza City, and we have a fabulous show prepared for you today. We have a fabulous show. We have a guest in Israel, a Palestinian in Israel. In fact, he is the Palestinian who heckled President Obama during his visit last March in Jerusalem. This is going to be very interesting. I can't wait to bring him on. But first, let me tell you that Palestine Today brings you the unfiltered truth where you will get nowhere else in the mainstream media here in the West. Nowhere else you can find this, about the situation in Palestine from the perspective of Palestinians who live there. Our weekly show is sponsored by the Washington Report on Middle East Affairs, Playgrounds for Palestine, and Henry Clifford. And what I want to say again today, this week, this show, is that I'm making a plea for donations because our sponsors, although we have them, they've only paid for a limited amount of airtime. We have to pay for our airtime here at Palestine Today because KCAA is not a corporate mega-owned channel. It's independently owned. So we pay for our airtime. So if you would like the show to continue, and I hope you do, I hope you like the show, please go to my website, thekathleenwellshow.com, and click on the Palestine Today donate button. You can donate. Also, you can leave me an email as to your thoughts about the show. I'd like to hear your perspective. I'd like to get your feedback about what you think about the show. I'd love to have that. So, as I said, please go to my website, thekathleenwellshow.com, and make a donation so that we can keep this show on the air. All donations go to the production expenses of this show. It's a good thing. If you like the show, let us know. If you'd like us to make some changes or you've got some feedback, also let us know about that. Okay? So I want to say welcome to my co-host, Harry Fear, who is in Gaza. Welcome, Harry.
Thank you very much for having me back.
Well, you're very, very welcome. So I know that you were last week, you were in the UK, and you were delivering a speech, and you were also in the company of George Galloway. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I popped back to the UK and to Norway briefly for just under 2 weeks. Basically, I was asked to present a couple of speeches at fundraising events, and that was enormously successful in as much as well over $100,000 was raised in a weekend. In fact, I think it was something like maybe $150,000 or more in total was raised in a couple of days.
Oh, my God.
And all of that money will go to Gaza. So that's quite substantial, actually.
That's very substantial. In fact, I need to get some tips from you about how to raise funds because I'm not doing very well at it.
Well, these charities were very respectable. The first one, which I've grown fond of, is called Mercy Worldwide, and 100% of the money that's donated goes directly into the goods, not even the transportation of the goods like medicines, but the goods themselves. Why? Because the transportation of the goods, the price of that is met by the people that work for the charity, and they're not paid. They pay themselves from their professional wages. Let's say they're doctors, for example. They pay themselves. So all of the money involved in the charity is actually for the goods of aid which are going to the people that need it. So that kind of ethical base I was so impressed by and almost fell in love with.
Okay, so also I want you to tell us, I know that you've made a film, a documentary about Hamid, the little boy, the young boy who was killed during the prior to, or that his killing was something that triggered the attack from Israel in last November. Do you want to touch on that film and inform them?
Absolutely. I think it's a very important reality. I was going to say story, but this is not fiction. This is a tragic reality, which is that 6 days before the 14th of November, so on the 8th of November last year, 2012, Israel, or Israeli force, was responsible, that of the military that is, was responsible for the killing of a 13-year-old innocent playing football outside of his home. What happened after that was that Palestinian militant groups here retaliated for this quite explicitly, according to their press releases, explicitly as in particularly because of the slaying of Hamid Ahmed Yunus Abu Dagha in Abasan Khan Yunis in the southern area of the Gaza Strip. They responded with an attack on Israel, or the Israeli military. And then following that attack, Israel then launched escalations on Gaza in the following days. And then that also saw retaliatory rocket fire, and then the recent 8-day war, which we all know about what happened during that time, was launched, so-called Operation Pillar of Cloud. So, in fact, you can see that the killing of Hamid was a massively important historical incident, and I felt that it was absolutely important to have that codified into history in certainly a video format, so that people cannot deny that this event happened and that this event is what sparked the recent war, and that the people responsible for that, or the entity responsible for that, was the Israeli military. And you know, we know so well that history gets rewritten when there isn't a strong narrative explaining one point of view. And so my point here was to make the only film that exists about what happened to Hamid, and therefore how the war really started. And so that's kind of my offer to public history in the public domain, offering that 16-minute documentary called Killing Hamid, which people can obviously find on YouTube or at harryfear.tv.
And, you know, I've watched that. I recommend it to people, and it's an excellent offering. And I like the way you say that it's your contribution to history. Because, yes, history is usually told by the victors, or is always, not usually, always told by the victors. And so there's so much history, so many points of view, so many perspectives that we do not have, that we lack, that we miss. So we really don't have the accurate perception of history, how things happen. So I appreciate that offering, Harry.
Well, thank you. I hope people find it moving and profound, I hope. Generally, the reaction has been very good, and we're going to have the film translated into a variety of languages, from Indonesian to Japanese, from Arabic to French to German, I said Indonesian already, and even languages which I haven't even heard of before. So I hope that it can be an offering not just to the English language world, but to the world at large.
Okay, excellent. So now we're going to bring on our guest. As I said, we have a fabulous guest. I don't know if you're familiar with the information. The West News Media ran with the story of the heckler. When President Obama was in Jerusalem delivering a speech last March, there was a heckler, a Palestinian heckler, who interrupted President Obama in the first 15 minutes of his speech. In fact, I've written some information. Let me read it real quick. Rabeea Eid is his name, heckled President Obama during President Obama's recent visit to Israel last March. The media reported that Rabeea was upset over the imprisonment of convicted spy Jonathan Pollard. In fact, Rabeea never mentioned Pollard. Rabeea is a student from the village Illiban, Israel. Will tell us exactly what he said. Rabeea is a member of the National Democratic Assembly, an Israeli Arab political party. He also writes for the Arabs 48 website. So, good evening in Israel, Rabeea.
Well, Rabeea will be with us in 5 seconds, hopefully.
Okay.
We're getting to grips with the technology here, and as you said at the beginning, because this is not CNN, we have to use what means we have. Rabeea, are you there?
Well, why don't we take a break, and when we come back from the break, we can expect to hear from Rabeea Eid, the heckler who lives in Illiban, Israel, He's the heckler. It was misreported in the West what he actually said. They said that he was criticizing
Hello?
Hello. Oh, you're there? Oh, okay. I was going to
Yeah.
go for a break. Hi, Rabeea. I'm so happy to have you. Good evening in Israel, Rabeea.
Hello.
Okay, so I have a question for you. My question is that the West reported that you were actually heckling, in your heckling of President Obama during his visit in Jerusalem last March, you were mentioning Jonathan Pollard. In fact, ABC said that on March 21st, during President Barack Obama's address in Jerusalem, he was interrupted by a heckler shouting about Jonathan Pollard, presumably calling for his release. Pollard is serving a life term in a North Carolina prison after pleading guilty in 1987 to spying for Israel from June 1984 until he was arrested in November 1985. Pollard provided Israel with thousands of pages of U.S. intelligence gathered as a civilian intelligence officer for the U.S. Navy on military and technical intelligence. For decades, Israelis have asked U.S. presidents to pardon Pollard. Those calls have increased recently as President Barack Obama embarked on his first trip to Israel as president. So, my question to you, Rabeea, was, were you heckling President Obama when you heckled him? Were you asking for the release of Jonathan Pollard?
No, it wasn't like this. It wasn't about Jonathan Pollard. It was questions for the Palestinians issue about the occupation and the racism laws and system here in Israel. I asked him a few questions before the security guys took me out from the building. It was about if President Obama come to here to make peace or to support Israel. And I also asked him about Yasser Qudih, an American activist that were killed in Gaza by the Israeli army. And I also mentioned and asked him if he saw the apartheid wall when he came from Ramallah to Jerusalem. So these issues that I mentioned.
Yeah, and exactly. If you had, half an hour to sit down with Obama, what issues would you want to bring to his attention? What does he need to know?
I mean, what I've mentioned is an important thing in the Palestinian issue and the Arabic-Israeli conflict, because this big issue wasn't mentioned in his visit, and he didn't talk about it. So I saw that I have to make an act and mention these things, because his visit was like everything is normal here. There is no talking about the occupation, the Israeli occupation. So for us as the Palestinian people, this is the issues that if he wanna come here and talk about peace and justice, this issue should be discussed.
Okay, we have 2 minutes. I want to just clarify something. As I said, the mainstream media in the West misreported what Rabeea actually said, his statement to his heckle to President Obama. The mainstream media actually misreported it. In fact, the White House press office first released a statement that said that the heckler spoke in Arabic and that he was asking for the release of Jonathan Pollard. Dana Milbank with the Washington Report ran with that story, and also Wolf Blitzer with CNN ran with it. Now, the Washington Post made a correction, but however, CNN has never made a correction. I want to just make that clear, and we're going to go to a break, but when we come back from the break, Rabeea, I want to go over exactly your statement. I'm going to state your statement, and then we'll bring in some other details. Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay, we'll be right back. We're going to take a break, and we're talking with Rabeea Eid, who is from the city, or from the village Illiban, which is in Israel. He's a Palestinian, and he is the one who heckled President Obama last March during his speech. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Can you smell the aroma of sweet, delicious fruit and flaky, melt-in-your-mouth crust? What is that? It's Cobblermania. Cobblermania is a specialty dessert company founded several years ago that sells delicious fruit cobblers that are baked daily and sweetened with diabetic-friendly agave. Agave, you ask? Yes. It's like sugar, but not sugar, and better than sugar. Cobblermania cobblers are sold at the Torrance, Hollywood, Culver City, San Dimas, Marina Del Rey Farmers Market. Also, apple and peach are sold daily at the Golden Bird in Los Angeles. You know Golden Bird that sells the fried chicken? At 83rd and Western, daily apple and peach cobblers. And yes, guess what? They're coming to the Pomona Fairplex Truck Fest. In fact, they're there right now, Thursdays from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Gate 1. Some of the favorites: peach, apple, mango, blueberry peach, blackberry, apple, white peach. If you go to the Pomona Truck Fest Gate 1 on Thursdays from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. and mention me, Kathleen, you'll get something special. You don't want to miss it. I've had them. They're delicious.
Playgrounds for Palestine is a non-for-profit 501c3 organization dedicated to upholding the Palestinians' child's rights to play. This is a right enshrined in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. We operate through a volunteer board and staff, the generosity of our supporters, and a lot of heart. To date, Playgrounds for Palestine has constructed 15 playgrounds in Palestine, as well as refugee camps in Lebanon and Syria. To contribute to this most worldly cause, please go to our website at www.playgroundsforpalestine.org or send a check to Playgrounds for Palestine, P.O. Box 559, Yardley, Pennsylvania 19067 at www.playgroundsforpalestine.org. Are you fascinated by the Middle East, but worried that U.S. foreign policy may lead yet to another war? Do you care about civil rights? For the past 30 years, the Washington Report on Middle East Affairs has brought its readers the real news, minus the corporate media spin. Read about Palestinians trying to survive the world's largest occupation. Learn how your hard-earned tax dollars fund that illegal occupation. Find out how much your members of Congress has received from pro-Israel PACs, and much, much more. Visit the Washington Report's website, www.wrmea.org, or call 888-881-5861 to request a free sample copy. Better yet, subscribe. It's only $29 for 9 issues. Mention Palestine today and get a bonus gift. KCAA.
So many years of catastrophe, more than 6 million refugees. It could be you and your family, forced from your home and your history.
Welcome back to Palestine Today. I'm joined by my co-host, Harry Fear, who is live in Gaza, and also our guest is Rabeea Eid. I want to state exactly what you said, and it is reported by the Electric Intifada. Rabeea, you said, you asked, are you heckled, you said to President Obama, did you really come here for peace or to give Israel more weapons to kill and destroy the Palestinian people? Did you happen to see the apartheid wall on your way here? There are Palestinians sitting in this hall. This state should be for all of its citizens, not a Jewish state only. And who killed Rachel Corrie? Rachel Corrie was killed by your money and weapons. So, Rabeea, the question to you is, how do you feel about the fact that the Western media was inaccurate, misreported what you actually said?
Well, at first I was surprised, but after that I understand that there's some media belong to some agenda that is not acceptable for them, what I did, or it's not the same policy of them, so they changed the subject and the story, what happened in Obama's speech.
Well, let me ask.
He talked about Jonathan Pollard.
Yeah, and do you have your thoughts about? Do you have any thoughts about Jonathan Pollard?
No, I don't know about Jonathan Pollard or anything, and this is not my case. It's not our story. This is a story between Israel and the United States that also the Americans should talk and about it. Why Israel, that it's a country that a friend with the United States, and they're spying on them at the same time. So it's a case between Israel and the United States.
Okay, so you say that's not your story. So tell my audience, the listeners, your story. Why did you mention Rachel Corrie? And tell us what it's like being a Palestinian living in Israel.
Well, I mentioned Rachel Corrie because I want the people to know that there is an American activist that come to Palestine and to defend the Palestinian rights, and she were killed by the Israeli soldiers. And this case is also not just for Rachel, also about for the Palestinian people, my people. This killing is going on. It's like every week and every year we have hundreds of Palestinians murders by the Israeli soldiers. So the important thing to me was to mention the occupation and to put a spotlight about these issues that the Palestinian people are struggling against them for hundreds of years.
Could you just quickly explain the use of the word martyrs in this part of the world for those that don't understand it in the West?
Well, it means that people were killed when they are fighting for their rights, and the Palestinian people have 10,000 murders during the last 65 years, and also before Israel were established. I mean, this conflict began before 1948. When the Zionist movement started to, come to Palestine and to make their country on our lands.
Okay, so Rabeea, I have a question for you. You were actually there present in the hall with students in Jerusalem, and President Obama was delivering a speech. And you felt a need, you were compelled to interrupt that speech and ask him, did you come really to make peace? Tell me, give us your thoughts about the speech that President Obama gave and why you felt this desire, this necessity to actually interject him about 15 minutes into the speech.
Well, Obama's speech made me upset because he talks about democracy and justice, and at the same time he say that he supports Israel as a Jewish country. So how can it be you are talking about democracy and justice and at the same time supporting an ethnic country? To me and to a lot of others that when I talk about democracy, Obama should talk about a country for all its citizens. We know there is 20% from the citizenship in Israel. They are Palestinians and they are against the Jewish, because the Jewish country is against our rights and in this country and this land. So Mr. Obama is a real democratic person. He should say that Israel should be a Jewish country. It should be a country for all its citizens. And of course, ending the occupation in the West Bank and Gaza.
And this is important because it's interesting that President Obama delivered this speech the same day that they unveiled a statue of Rosa Parks. I don't know if you're familiar with Rosa Parks, but she was a black woman who refused to sit in the back of the bus. And yet, in Palestine, there are segregated buses. Is that correct?
Yeah. See, this is what I'm talking about. That at least this issue, I mean, President Obama, he is the first black president of the United States, and we all know what the black people had in the United States from a lot of system and policy. So the same thing we can see it here against Palestinians in this issue. In the buses, there is buses that the Palestinians is forbidden to ride, and it's just for Jewish. Mm-hmm. And in this issue also, President Obama didn't mention.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I mean, this is amazing because we talk, President Obama talked about peace, and Israel says that they're only democracy in the Middle East. Give us your thoughts about the fact that Israel says repeatedly, and we here in the West, that Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East, and yet you have segregated buses. This is amazing.
Well, I think there is no any country in the Middle East is a democratic, even Israel, because Israel is occupied Palestinian territories, and there is, we all know, the hundreds of racism laws. And I think what's happening now in the Arab world is also the Arab people fighting for change the systems there to be a democratic country. I don't think there is a democratic country.
Rabeea, could you just explain exactly how it is that you are a Palestinian living in what's called Israel? You're not in Gaza, you're not in the West Bank, you're not in East Jerusalem. I think some of our viewers will not understand how you're inside Israel. Can you paint that picture for us?
Yeah, in 1948, when Israel was established, most of the Palestinian people become a refugee in Lebanon and Syria and Jordan after the Zionist movement expelled the Palestinian people. But they're still there in Palestine, like 100,000 Palestinian, and they become citizens in Israel, and now we are 20% from the population here. And what happened in 1948 is continuing until today, because we are 20% from the population, but we have like 2% from the lands, and all the Israeli governments since 1948 until today, they are taking more lands from the Arabs that they are citizens in Israel, and they building a new cities and villages for Israeli and Jewish, and they bringing the Jewish from all over the world under the law, the return law for the Jewish, but at the same time the Palestinians that they were expelled and become refugees, they can go back to their homes and their lands. For example, we can't study our history in the schools here, and what happened with us. This is an important thing that they don't want us to know what happened, and the new generation to know his personality. So we are fighting for this issue to protect our identity and our existence, and to live a normal and perfect life like other people's, because we are facing a lot of issues. I mean, anyone can come and visit here and see the difference between Arab villages and cities and the Israeli Jewish cities. You can see the difference, how the governments give more money for the Israeli cities, but the Arab village is more poor, and they have a lot of problems.
So Rabeea, paint a picture for us of your life. What level of interaction do you have with Israelis? Do you go to school with Israelis, for example?
We have schools in our Arabic villages. After that, we go to the university with Israelis. We don't have an Arabic university, and this is one of our things that we are fighting for, to have our university or theater or television as a minority. As we all know, in the UN laws, there is a special things for the minority people in the countries. There is some rights, and we don't have these rights as a cultural right or political rights.
And I understand that there's another minority that you're a part of, in the sense that, is it right that you're also actually a Christian?
Yeah, this is right.
And does that play any part in the tapestry of your life?
No, I mean, Christian and Muslims here is the same thing. They are deal with us as an Arabs, as a Palestinians, but they tried sometimes, to make us not as one people, to can say to make us groups, not one people. But it's the same thing if it's a Muslim village or a Christian village. It's the same thing we are facing.
Okay, Rabeea, I have a question for you. There's a large contingency of Christian Zionists in America who are pro-Israel. In fact, I don't even think many of them realize that they're Palestinian Christians.
Well, I'm surprised of that, because the Christ was born here in Bethlehem and in Nazareth, and the Christianity started from here. And it's normal to be Christian Palestinian people. To me, the Zionist Christian, I don't recognize them as a Christian people, because Christianity is something, against at least killing and occupation, and it's with justice. And if you are a real Christian, you should be with the rights of the Palestinian people and against occupation. This is justice and democracy. So I don't believe that they saying that they are Christian and at the same time Zionist. How it can be together.
And in fact, you told me when I spoke with you before, you told me there's a joke about the fact that Palestinians are the original, are the first, are the initial Christians.
Yeah, right. And there is a say for Yasser Arafat, Abu Ammar, that he said the Christ was the first Palestinian martyr.
Okay, we're going to take a break right now, and when we come back from the break, why don't we do open phones? I think we can open phones. Let's see. The call-in number is 888-909-1050. If you have a question for Rabeea, he is a Palestinian who lives in Israel. He has Israeli citizenship. That's correct, Rabeea, isn't it? Don't you have Israeli citizenship?
Yeah, this is right.
This is different, and he's also a Christian. So I would think that there would be listeners out there that are confused in their thoughts. If you have questions for Rabeea, please feel free to call in at 888-909-1050. We'll be right back after the break.
This is a crime against humanity. Gods are turned into a prison camp.
Can you smell the aroma of sweet, delicious fruit and flaky, melt-in-your-mouth crust? What is that? It's Cobblermania. Cobblermania is a specialty dessert company founded several years ago that sells delicious fruit cobblers that are baked daily and sweetened with diabetic-friendly agave. Agave, you ask? Yes, it's like sugar, but not sugar, and better than sugar. Cobblermania cobblers are sold at the Torrance, Hollywood, Culver City, San Dimas, Marina Del Rey Farmers Market. Also, apple and peach are sold daily at the Golden Bird in Los Angeles. You know Golden Bird that sells the fried chicken? At 83rd and Western, daily apple and peach cobblers. And yes, guess what? They're coming to the Pomona Fairplex Truck Fest. In fact, they're there right now, Thursdays from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Gate 1. Some of the favorites: peach, apple, mango, blueberry peach, blackberry, blackberry, apple, white peach. If you go to the Pomona Truck Fest Gate 1 on Thursdays from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. and mention me, Kathleen, you'll get something special. You don't want to miss it. I've had them. They're delicious.
Playgrounds for Palestine is a non-for-profit 501c3 organization dedicated to upholding the Palestinians' child's rights to play. This is a right enshrined in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. We operate through a volunteer board and staff, the generosity of our supporters, and a lot of heart. To date, Playgrounds for Palestine has constructed 15 playgrounds in Palestine, as well as refugee camps in Lebanon and Syria. To contribute to this most worldly cause, please go to our website at www.playgroundsforpalestine.org or send a check to Playgrounds for Palestine, P.O. Box 559, Yardley, Pennsylvania 19067 at www.playgroundsforpalestine.org. Are you fascinated by the Middle East, but worried that U.S. foreign policy may lead yet to another war? Do you care about civil rights? For the past 30 years, the Washington Report on Middle East Affairs has brought its readers the real news, minus the corporate media spin. Read about Palestinians trying to survive the world's largest occupation. Learn how your hard-earned tax dollars fund that illegal occupation. Find out how much your members of Congress has received from pro-Israel PACs, and much, much more. Visit the Washington Report's website, www.wrmea.org, or call 888-881-5861 to request a free sample copy. Better yet, subscribe. It's only $29 for 9 issues. Mention Palestine today and get a bonus gift.
So, you didn't like that opinion. Okay, give us another 15 minutes. This is the station that leaves no listener behind, AM 1050 KCAA.
So many years of catastrophe, more than 6 million refugees. It could be you and your family, forced from your home and your history.
We are the people, and this is our time. Stand up, sing out for Palestine.
Welcome back to Palestine Today. I'm joined by my co-host who is in Gaza, Harry Fear, and our guest is Rabeea Eid, who is from the village Ilibon. Do you have a question for him, Harry?
Rabeea, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Again, thank you for joining us. Thanks very much indeed. Could you just talk a little bit about what you think is going to happen in the future, or what needs to happen for the future to get better?
Well, I believe that the Palestinian people have a big issue, and they have to, struggle for their rights. And it's not easy because we are facing a country is very strong and supported by the West, colonial West. And we are hoping that after, the Arab Spring and the Arab world, the thing will change, and the Arab countries, after the people can choose their governments, because the Arab people is with the Palestinians against their governments and their regimes, like Hosni Mubarak, that he was a friend with Israel and the United States. So we hope that this change that is coming, and it's not an easy thing, what is going now in the Arab world, that will reflect also in here in Palestine.
Rabeea, could you tell us a little bit about the village that you live in? Where is it? What is it like? And how does it differ from Tel Aviv?
Well, my village we have a special story. Elabun, it's called Elabun in Galilee. In Galilee, it's near Nazareth, a small village. My village were expelled in 1948, like the same thing with 50 Palestinian, 50 hundreds of Palestinian villages. But our village returned back after a few months, and we lived here in our lands, and we didn't become a refugee. And so if you visit our village, you can see how it differs, for example, from a small new Israeli village that were built after many years when Israel were established, from spaces and schools and development buildings and all these things.
Rabeea, you asked President Obama when you heckled him about the apartheid wall. Apartheid is the South Afrikaans term for separateness or, And so you asked him, I think you went to Ramallah, did you see the wall? Did you see the separation wall?
Yeah.
Did he, he didn't respond to that, or what do you think?
Well, I don't know if he heard all the questions. I think he heard the first question when I stand up and asked him, because after that the people in the building, start shoot at me because I heckled President Obama. But in the same time, I don't think he have really answers for my questions. I'm sure he know about the separation wall, and of course he saw it. If you go in the airplane or in the helicopter or in the car, he should see it because it's big, and he will meet him in his way. So what he will answer? Yes, I saw it. So if you saw this wall, what do you think about it? Do you know what the Palestinian people is struggling from this wall?
Okay, why don't we take a phone?
And also about Yasser Qudih. He tried to, in his answer when I heckled him, he tried to make a joke or a laugh about the heckling thing. But I surprised that a president of the United States make a joke about
something so serious.
Yeah, something so serious.
Yeah, that the President Obama would make a joke. Here we're talking about separate buses for Palestinians. President Obama delivered this speech in Jerusalem on the day that Rosa Parks, the statue of Rosa Parks in Washington, D.C. was unveiled. We all know who Rosa Parks was. She was the black woman during the civil rights era that refused to go to the back of the bus. She sat in the front. And here President Obama is a black president. He should be aware of these issues, civil rights issues. Who more can feel them than a black person in America? That's my question. I'm sure some will disagree with me, but I think if you're a black person in America, you should feel very strongly about civil rights and human rights. You have a visceral feeling about these issues because why? Your parents and your grandparents lived through Jim Crow, lived through slavery. These are important issues. Okay, so why don't we take a call now from David in Vancouver. Hi, David.
Hi, Kathleen. Thank you very much. Rabeea Eid, I hope I pronounced that right, sir. Thank you so much for challenging our president as you did. I had great hopes for Palestine when Obama was elected because he was a personal friend of Rashid Khalidi, a Palestinian activist American who has been a champion for Palestine for a long, long time. However, that hope was dashed shortly after he made his speech at Cairo, which also promised great hope, but then acted completely opposite from what he had promised. So I wouldn't hold any hope for Obama at all. He's another imperialist president of the U.S., and the U.S. is totally dominated and controlled. Our media, our Congress, our State Department, all of these people are controlled by the Zionist element that has infiltrated and essentially been using American prowess, foreign policy prowess, and military prowess to advance the causes of Israel. Now, you are a citizen of Israel, a Palestinian Christian citizen of Israel, and you mentioned briefly that it was puzzling to you that Christians supported Israel, even though they're violently discriminating against Palestinian Christians, their brethren in Palestine. That shouldn't be a surprise if you know what our media is like. John Hagee, a principal Zionist televangelist, gets on the air every Sunday and preaches falsehoods about supporting Israel, and people view that if they don't support Israel, their view is that they're going to go straight to hell because they're challenging God. Well, God, according to the Torah and the Old Testament Bible, would be appalled at what Israel has done in Palestine. There's a great group of Jewish people.
Okay, David,
Jews.
do you have a question? Do you have a question for Rabeea?
I just wish people would Google that, True Torah Jews, and find out the truth. If you are a Christian, you're on the wrong side if you support Israel. My question is, could you please describe some of the discriminatory laws? Like everything else about Israel, we're told that it is a democracy is a lie. Everything that we think we know about Israel is a lie. Americans need to get over this friendship with Israel. It's not a friend. I can go on forever on this. But anyway, could you please describe some of the discriminatory laws against Palestinian Christians and Muslims and Druze and other non-Jews?
Okay, that's an excellent question.
In Israel.
So, Rabeea, he would like you to describe some of the discriminatory laws.
Yeah. Well, there is in the last few years a lot of discrimination laws that the Knesset did, like the citizenship law that a Palestinian from Israel he can't bring his wife or a girl from Israel, Palestinian, can't bring her husband from West Bank and live in Israel. But otherwise, any Jewish who marry anyone in the world can bring his family and live here. So there is thousands of families, they can't be together because of this law. And there is another law that if any Arab association make any activities about Nakba Day, what happened, the catastrophe, what happened in 1948, they will prevent from it money or will make some things against these associations. And also there is a law that give the kibbutzim to decide who can live in these kibbutzim. And we know that these kibbutzim they have a lot of lands, and these lands were taken from the Palestinian. So they don't want the Palestinian to come and live in an Israeli villages or cities. There is also the return law that give any Jewish in the world the right to come and live in Israel, but it's just for Jewish, Palestinians, that the natives people of this land, they can't come back and live in their land.
Mm-hmm. And do you have a follow-up, David, or is that it?
No, there are, other than that, there are more than 50 laws on the Israeli law books discriminating against all who are not Jewish in Israel proper. This doesn't count the occupied territories. This is just in Israel proper, which has 20%, as was mentioned, of the population being non-Jewish people. They're trying to move those people out of the way and eventually shoot for a fully Jewish state. And these people are European Jews whose families converted hundreds of years after the fall of the temple, that they base their claim on returning to their promised land, which is another lie.
Okay, I thank you. I thank you, David,
thank you
for the
very
call.
much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I thank you for the call. So, Rabeea, you write at the website Arab 48s. Is that correct? Yeah. So people can find your writings there.
Yeah.
Well,
Arabs48.com.
Arab48s.com. So, Rabeea, we've only got 2 minutes left. I want to thank you for being a guest. We've got 4 minutes left. I want to thank you for being a guest on Palestine today. Would you like to leave the listeners with some closing thoughts? Oh, hello?
Rabeea?
Oh, you know what? Maybe we lost him. Did we lose Rabeea?
I don't think so. Rabeea?
Oh, we lost him. Well, why don't you leave us with some closing thoughts, Harry?
Well, I will, which is to say that it was great to... Rabea's back. He's back.
Oh, he's back. Hi, Rabeea. Can you leave the listeners with some closing thoughts, please?
Yeah, I say that I want to thank you for having me, and I hope that my voice can reach here.
Oh, I think we lost him again, huh? Did we lose him again? Yeah, I think we lost him again. Well, go to Arabs 48 to see Rabeea's writings. And also, I want to... Do you have closing thoughts, Harry? Oh, we may have lost both Harry and Rabeea. Because it's like, it looks like we've lost both Harry and Rabeea, which is unfortunate. I hope they can connect back with us. But we've only got 2 minutes left, 1 minute left. What I'd like to do is make a plea. I'm so delighted that we had Rabeea from Ilibon, which is a village in Israel, which was initially before 1948 Palestine. Next week we're going to have Hashim, who's done a documentary on this village, The Sons of Ilibon, which should be very fascinating. Also, I want to make a plea for people to make a donation to Palestine today, because although we have sponsors, we have a limited amount of time, a finite number of shows that they've paid for. Oh, hi, Harry. Are you back with us?
I'm back. I hope that I didn't cut your connection with Rabeea.
Who knows, but do you have any closing thoughts for us?
Well, just again to remind our listeners around the world, and in California particularly, that the reason why I just disappeared was because the electricity went off, and then we're relying on a generator in this comparatively luxurious building in comparison to the rest of the Gaza Strip, which is made of largely refugee camps. And people should know when they turn on their TV tonight that in Gaza people do not have such a luxury as electricity on demand at any time of day. Not to mention the water supply, not to mention the general electricity supply, not to mention the general supply of security economically or physically or psychologically. So please, everyone, keep the situation of Palestine in their thoughts and prayers today and every day.
Okay. Keep it in your minds today and every day, and one way we can do that is by bringing the news to you from Palestine today. I think that's a good way to say it. So I'm signing off from California. I'm Kathleen Wells, your host, and Harry. Oh, did he get disconnected? See, this is tricky, but Harry is signing off also from Gaza, where his electricity was cut off. So I want to thank everyone, and join us next week when our guest will be Hashim, who will talk about his film, The Sons of Ilibon, which is the village which Rabeea is from. Thank you very much, Palestine Today. Thank you very much.
of catastrophe. More than 6 million refugees. It could be you and your family, forced from your home and your histories.
We are the people, and this is our time. Stand up, sing out for Palestine.
No matter your faith or community, this is a crime against humanity. Gaza turned into a prison camp, apartheid war divides the West Bank.
We are the people, and this is our time. Stand up, sing out for Palestine.
You're on board KCAA's Inland Talk Express. KCAA, Loma Linda, 1050 AM, the station that leaves no listener behind.
From the KCAA Weather Center, I'm Chris Earl Phillips. For this afternoon, sunny and a high near 91. Tonight, mostly clear, low around 57. On Sunday, sunny and a high of 89. Sunday night, mostly clear, low around 56. Heading into the work week, we started off on Monday with sunny skies and a high near 84. Monday night, mostly clear, low around 55. On Tuesday, sunny and a high of 86. Tuesday night, mostly clear, low around 57. On Wednesday, sunny and a high of 81. That's your weather forecast for this hour from the station that leaves no listener behind. NBC News Radio, AM 1050 KCAA.
Earth, sky.
Are you about to take a bite of a donut? You might want to wait.
A new study from the University of California at Los Angeles suggests that binging on sweets for as little as 6 weeks might slow your brain and hamper your memory and learning.
Fortunately, this same study also suggests that eating foods that contain nutrients called omega-3 fatty acids can counteract these negative effects. These are foods like walnuts, salmon, flax seeds, and sardines. That's because omega-3 fatty acids protect against damage to synapses, the chemical connections between brain cells that enable memory and learning.
The UCLA study on sugars used high fructose corn syrup, and it monitored 2 groups of rats. All the rats were fed regular food and trained on a maze. Then they were switched to a diet high in fructose for 6 weeks. One group also received omega-3 fatty acids.
After 6 weeks on their experimental diet, the rats were tested on the mazes again. Of the 2 groups, the rats that received fructose only were slower at completing the maze. Their brain cells had trouble signaling each other, disrupting the rats' ability